Welcome to At the Public Library, the video source for news and information about the San Francisco Public Library system. This month's show features The Long Road to Freedom, a main library exhibit focusing on the gay and lesbian movement since 1967. An encore presentation of the Book Boys demonstrating bookbinding, past and present. A look at summer travel. And, of course, listings of upcoming library programs for children, teens, and adults at the Public Library.
The main library offers a free orientation to the San Francisco Public Library system and the new online public access catalog every first Saturday of the month. The sessions run for an hour and provide a basic introduction to the library and its collections. Library orientations on the first Saturday of the month begin at 2 p.m. and take place in the Lurie Room of the main library. Times and schedules may change. Call 557-4400 for more information.
Here are more of the extended branch hours, beginning with the Glen Park Branch Library, located just 2 blocks from the Glen Park BART station at 653 Chenery Street. Monday, closed. Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday, 12 noon to 8 p.m. Thursday, 1 to 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 1 to 6 p.m. And Sunday, closed. Herb Cain's favorite branch library, the Golden Gate Valley Branch, is located at 1801 Green Street with these hours. Monday, closed. Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday, 12 noon to 8 p.m. Thursday, 1 to 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 1 to 6 p.m. Sunday, closed. Just a half block off Ocean Avenue at 387 Ashton Avenue, here are the hours for the Ingleside branch. Monday, closed. Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday, 12 noon to 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday, 1 to 6 p.m. Saturday, 12 noon to 6 p.m. And Sunday, closed. The Marina Branch Library, located at 1890 Chestnut Street, is open Monday and Tuesdays, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Wednesday and Thursday, 1 to 9 p.m., Friday, 1 to 6 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday, 1 to 5 p.m.
The San Francisco Public Library's Services for the Deaf and Hearing Impaired is located on the second floor of the main library, Civic Center. Staffed with personnel fluent in American Sign Language, the Services for the Deaf and Hearing Impaired contain numerous resources for and about the deaf and hearing impaired. The library's deaf services may be reached via TTD at phone number 557-4433 or voice phone at 557-4434. Hours of operation are Mondays, 12 noon to 5 p.m., Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 12 noon to 8 p.m., and Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 12 noon to 5 p.m.
Summer is time to get away. Travel to exotic lands with free large-screen videos shown in the main library's Lurie Room each Thursday at noon. On July 6th, visit Finland, the land of light and water. From the capital city of Helsinki to ancient churches, from the traditional Finnish sauna to the Olavinlinna Castle, Finland awaits your visit. On July 13th, discover the Spain many travelers miss, from the windmills of La Mancha to the art in the Prado. See bullfights in Madrid and flamenco in Seville. Join Travels in Europe on a trip to Spain, Madrid and Toledo, Seville and Andalusia. On July 20th, Exotic Asia, Malaysia and Indonesia, A kaleidoscope of cultures and great natural beauty make up these Spice Islands. Kuala Lumpur's magnificent mosques and the dramatic dances of Java are highlights of the tour. On July 27th, Bible Lands. Beginning with the Red Sea, this video tour follows the paths of Moses and the Israelites through the desert to Sinai. Bethlehem, Masada, and Jericho are stops along the way to Jerusalem. That's travel to exotic lands, large screen videos, in the main library Lurie Room each Thursday in July. And while your bags are packed, travel to the Sunset Branch for 2 great travel slideshows. On July 10th at 7 p.m., Carol Terwilliger Myers presents Family-Friendly Vacations, based on her new book, The Family Travel Guide, an inspiring collection of family-oriented vacations. Then, on July 17th at 7 p.m., visit Spain and Portugal in a scenic slide tour by retired urban planner Gary Holloway, a frequent slideshow presenter at the Sunset Branch Library. That's 2 great slideshows at the Sunset Branch Library, located at 1305 18th Avenue at Irving.
Looking for a great deal on books? Then drop by the Book Bay Bookstore in Fort Mason. Operated by the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, the Book Bay Bookstore offers great prices on used books, records, and tapes. There's something for everybody at the Book Bay, and all proceeds of the Book Bay benefit the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. The Book Bay Bookstore is located in the Fort Mason Complex, Building C, on the first floor. The store is open Wednesdays and Fridays from 11 to 5, Thursdays 11 to 8, and Saturdays and Sundays again from 11 to 5. The Book Bay also welcomes donations of books. If you have books you'd like to donate, call the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library at 557-4257 for more information. So, now you know, that's bargain books at the Book Bay Bookstore, Fort Mason, Building C.
Here are more of the new extended branch library hours, beginning with the Merced Branch. Located across the street from Stonestown at 155 Winston Drive, the Merced Branch hours are Monday, closed, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Wednesday, 1 to 9 p.m., Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 1 to 6 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday, closed. Located in the heart of the Mission at 3359 24th Street, the Mission Branch Library is open Mondays, 1 to 9, Tuesday and Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 1 to 6 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday, 1 to 5 p.m. The Mission Children's Room hours are the same except for Mondays, 1 to 6, Tuesdays, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Wednesdays, 1 to 8 p.m. The Noe Valley Sally Brunn Memorial Branch Library, located at 451 Jersey Street, is closed on Mondays. Tuesdays, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Wednesday, 1 to 9 p.m., Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 1 to 6 p.m., Saturday, 12 noon to 6 p.m., and Sunday, closed. The North Beach Library at 2000 Mason Street is open Mondays, 12 noon to 6 p.m., Tuesdays, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Wednesday, 1 to 9 p.m., Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 1 to 6 p.m., Saturday, 12 noon to 6 p.m., and Sunday, closed. From July 1st through the 30th, the San Francisco Public Library proudly exhibits The Long Road to Freedom, the advocate history of the gay and lesbian movement, co-sponsored by Seagram's. The main library's third-floor Phelan Hall will be home to this traveling show, currently on a 9-city national tour. Using covers, photographs, cartoons, articles, and advertisements from the award-winning national news magazine, The Advocate, the exhibit salutes the gay and lesbian movement since 1967. That's the Long Road to Freedom, July 1st through the 30th, on the 3rd floor of the main library. Want to learn how to read? Want to help someone else learn to read? Contact Project Read of the San Francisco Public Library at 557-4388. Project Read is an adult literacy program that provides volunteer one-to-one tutoring for adult learners. Project Read's support of tutors and students includes tutor orientation and training, continuing education workshops for tutors and students, reading diagnostics for students, family programs, and referrals to classroom instruction at community college centers and to other agencies in the community. There are many ways you can help adults achieve their personal reading goals. Call Project Read to find out how. Learn to read or be a reading tutor. Phone 557-4388.
Beast sees how lonely and how sad Belle is, and he wants to make her life in the castle happier.
I want to do something for her.
Suddenly, Beast realizes just what will please Belle most of all.
I've never seen so many books in all my life.
You like it?
It's wonderful.
Then it's yours.
It can be yours, too. Open the door to wonder. Get your library card.
Can I get my library card, too?
And now it's time for the San Francisco Public Library events calendar for children for the month of July, beginning with the Anza branch, where on July 13th you can go to a preschool film program for ages 3 to 6 at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Every Wednesday at 7:15 p.m., a family story time for children ages 3 and under. On July 11th, 18th, and 25th, preschool story time for ages 3 to 6 at 10:30 a.m. The Merced branch is having a crafts program for children ages 5 and up on July 14th at 4 p.m. The North Beach branch is having a preschool film program for children ages 3 to 5 on July 18th and the 20th at 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 11 a.m., and again at 3 in the afternoon. Also on July 18th at 3:30 p.m., the Lizard Ladies Reptile Review for children ages 5 and up. And on the 18th and the 20th at 3:45 p.m., a film program for children ages 6 and over, all at the North Beach Branch Library. The Sunset Branch is having a preschool film program for ages 3 to 5 on July 18th at 10:30 and 11:15 a.m. And on July 19th at 7 p.m., an evening video program for 6-year-olds and over. On July 26th at 11 a.m., the Western Edition branch is having a special summer program featuring storyteller Johnny Moses with tales for children 3 and up. Come to a magic show at the Presidio Branch Library on July 27th at 3 p.m. Magic Dan Snyder will have a show for children of all ages. Come to the Mission Branch Library for evening preschool video programs at 7 p.m. on July 12th and July 26th. And for daytime preschool video programs, July 18th at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and 2 p.m. The Eureka Valley Harvey Milk Branch will be having a preschool film program on July 7th at 10:30 a.m. The Bayview Wadden Branch is having a community celebration on Saturday, July 8th at 1 p.m., featuring Awele Makeba and local musical talent. The party's to celebrate the branch's new staff, new hours, and summer activities. Also at the Bayview Wadden Branch, each Monday, preschool story time for ages 2 to 5 at 10:15 and 10:45 a.m. And July 11th, 18th, and 25th, preschool movies for ages 2 to 5, also at 10:15 and 10:45 a.m. On July 12th at 2 p.m., a crafts program for ages 5 and up, all at the Bayview-Wadden branch. And at the Ortega branch, each Monday at 10:30 a.m., a toddler lap sit program for ages 1 to 2. Every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. is Family Night program. And July 11th and 25th at 11 a.m., a preschool crafts program for ages 2 to 5. The Richmond branch has a preschool story time for children ages 3 to 5, each Tuesday at 11 a.m. and each Wednesday at 7 p.m. And on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m., an infant toddler lap sit program. Mysterious movies for ages 6 and up, July 6th, 20th, and 27th at 3 p.m. And movies for children ages 3 to 5 on July 18th at 10:15 and 11 a.m. and July 19th at 7 p.m. The Visitation Valley branch has a family video program for all ages on July 7th and the 21st at 3:30 p.m. A preschool video program on July 12th and 26th is at 10 a.m. and again at 10:45 a.m. And on July 19th at 3:30 p.m., an afternoon crafts program for ages 6 and up. The Golden Gate Valley branch has preschool story times at 10:15 a.m. on July 11th, 18th, and the 25th. And on July 19th, storyteller Johnny Moses will be spinning tales for ages 5 and over at 5 p.m. and for 7 to 11-year-olds at 3:30 p.m. The Ingleside branch has a preschool story time at 10:30 a.m. on July 11th and the 18th. A crafts program for children ages 6 and over on July 12th at 3 p.m. And an afternoon movie program for ages 8 and up on July 14th at 3 p.m. On July 20th at 3:30 p.m., a special magic show for ages 3 and over. And on July 25th at 10:30 a.m., preschool videos for ages 3 to 5. The Marina branch has a preschool video program at 10:30 a.m. on July 11th, 18th, and the 25th. And on July 19th at 3 p.m., storyteller Johnny Moses with stories for children of all ages. The West Portal branch has preschool film programs on Tuesday, July 11th at 10:30 a.m. and on Saturday, July 15th at 11 a.m. At the Ocean View branch, Quilting with Marie instruction for children of all ages on July 13th at 3 p.m. and a preschool story time on July 27th at 10:30 a.m.
Every Friday from 3 to 6 p.m., the main library children's department hosts the Chess Club for children of all ages. International, Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, and Korean chess are offered, as well as Go and Scrabble. That's the Chess Club in the main children's department at the main library every Friday at 3 p.m.
Clown and ventriloquist Chris Abbey will be at the library on Saturday, July 1st, with performances at the Ortega branch at 10:30 a.m., the Visitation Valley branch at 2 p.m., and the Ocean View branch at 3:30 p.m. Clown performances for children of all ages. The Whale Bus program comes to the Merced branch on July 7th at 4 p.m. with Outrageous Otters. Then the Whale Bus goes to the Anza branch on July 20th at 10:30 a.m. with Playful Pinnipeds, a program on seals, sea lions, and walruses. It's puppet show time with the Haight Street Puppet Theater starring Howie Leifer. They'll be at the Mission branch on July 6th at 10:30 a.m., the Ingleside branch on July 8th at 2:30 p.m., and the Merced branch on July 22nd at 2 p.m., the Haight Street Puppet Theater. Singer-songwriter Bonnie Lockhart performs songs and music games from around the world at the Presidio branch on July 6th at 11 a.m. and the Sunset branch on July 11th at 10:30 a.m. Opera Piccola performs the opera Stolen Aroma on Saturday, July 22nd at the Bernal Heights branch at 1 p.m. and again at the Glen Park branch at 3:30 p.m. The San Francisco Red Panda Acrobats perform Chinese acrobatics for children ages 3 and up on July 13th at the Sunset Branch at 1 p.m., the Richmond Branch at 2:30 p.m., and the West Portal Branch at 4 p.m. On July 18th, they'll be at the Potrero Branch at 4 p.m. and the Mission Branch at 5:30 p.m. Finally, they'll be at the Bayview Branch on July 25th at 1 p.m. The San Francisco Red Panda Acrobats. And now here are more of the new extended branch hours. The Ocean View Branch Library, located at 111 Broad Street, is closed on Mondays. Open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Thursdays 1 to 6 p.m. Fridays 1 to 6 p.m. Saturdays 12 noon to 6 p.m. and Sundays closed. Serving the outer Sunset, the Ortega Branch Library at 3223 Ortega Street is open on Mondays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Wednesdays 1 to 9 p.m., Thursdays 1 to 9 p.m., Fridays 1 to 6 p.m., and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The Ortega Branch is closed on Sundays. New hours for the oldest branch library in San Francisco, the Park Branch at 1833 Page Street, are as follows. Mondays closed, Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Wednesdays 12 noon to 8 p.m., Thursdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Fridays 1 to 6 p.m., Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and closed on Sundays. The Chinatown Branch, temporarily located at 445 Grant Avenue, is open on Mondays from 1 to 9 p.m., Tuesdays and Wednesdays 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Thursdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Fridays 1 to 6 p.m., Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays 1 to 5 p.m. The Chinatown Children's Room is open Mondays and Fridays from 1 to 6, Tuesdays 10 to 8, Wednesdays 1 to 8, Thursdays and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m. The Mission Branch Library presents An Introduction to the Internet with Ken Dickinson from Bay Area Computer Training and Julian Burgos from IDEM Translation Center Incorporated. The presentation will include a large-screen projection screen and plenty of information about getting you on the Internet. That's all on Monday, July 17th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Mission Branch Library. Library patrons at several of the branches are now meeting to discuss favorite works of literature. Titles change regularly. Here's the schedule for the month of July. On Wednesday, July 5th at 7 p.m., the Sunset Branch Book Discussion Group will discuss Blue River by Ethan Kanan. On July 26th, the Noe Valley Sally Brunn Branch Group meets at 7:30 p.m. to discuss Joe Hill, a biographical novel written by labor activist Wallace Stegner and originally published as The Preacher and the Slave. The Bernal Heights Branch meets on July 27th at 4 p.m. to discuss Buddenbrooks, the story of 4 generations of a wealthy burgher family of North Germany, written by Thomas Mann. Also on the literary front, the North Beach Branch welcomes Fanny Renoir and Ronald Sauer for a poetry reading on July 25th at 7 p.m. At the Park Branch Library on Saturday, July 15th at 2 p.m., local author Jonathan Lethem reads from his critically acclaimed novel, Gun with Occasional Music. Mr. Lethem, a New York native, is currently working on a collection of short stories due out in September. He also teaches at the Writing Parlor here in San Francisco. Be sure to attend this chapter of the author reading program at the Park Branch Library.
Hey kids, you're invited to solve mysteries of every kind, wherever your curiosity leads. by signing up for the Solve Mysteries Read Summer Reading Program at the San Francisco Public Library. The summer reading program for children aged 13 and younger will be offered at all San Francisco branch libraries and the main library in Civic Center, June 24th through August 19th. Tickets to a Giants baseball game at Candlestick Park are among the incentives being offered to children who complete the program by reading 8 books. Other prizes include passes to the Bay Area Discovery Museum, the Morrison Planetarium, and the California Academy of Sciences. Paperback books, special bookmarks, stickers, pencils, and a magnifying glass to assist in your sleuthing. In selected libraries, a special youth volunteer program encourages middle school children to assist younger kids in participating in the summer reading program. Kid Power gives teens the opportunity to work in libraries, learn new skills, and gain valuable work experience. Kid Power volunteers will receive T-shirts supplied by The Gap in recognition of their participation in the program. For more information about the summer reading program and Kid Power, call the Main Library Children's Department at 557-4554 or your neighborhood branch library. The classic film series at the Noe Valley Sally Brum Memorial Branch Library continues this month with the screening of Fritz Lang's 1926 silent science fiction masterpiece, Metropolis. German Expressionism flourishes in Metropolis, which tells the story of a monstrous 21st century city where workers labor in subterranean factories while the privileged classes dance the night away far above. This 16mm silent version screening of Metropolis will begin at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, July 19th, at the Noe Valley Sally Brunn Memorial Branch Library, located at 451 Jersey Street. On Monday, July 24th at 7 p.m., the Sunset Branch Library will present the 16mm film The World of Tomorrow. Narrated by Jason Robards, this feature-length documentary is a fascinating and nostalgic journey back to the 1939 New York World's Fair.
I was 10 years old when we first went to the fair. We had a Kodak Keystone camera, and Dad bought the brand new color film. This was, after all, the world of tomorrow. And now, in these old movies and in the miles and hours of Kodachrome that went through those so many other cameras, I seem to see time balanced as on a needle point. Past, present, future. A world of tomorrow that was visible just for a moment between the Depression and the war.
That's The World of Tomorrow, showing at the Sunset Branch Library, Monday, July 24th at 7 p.m. The Sunset Branch Library is located at 1305 18th Avenue. All San Francisco public libraries will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th for the Independence Day holiday. Here's to a happy and safe 4th of July.
You're watching At the Public Library on cable channel 54, City Watch. You can also see At the Public Library on Tuesdays at 3 p.m., Fridays at 8 p.m., and Saturdays at 2 p.m.
The San Francisco Public Library is pleased to present Factory Maneuvers, an examination of the mechanization of bookbinding in the 19th century, with your hosts, Bay Area bookbinders John Demerritt and Dominic Riley.
Hello. It's Book Talk with John and Dominic. John, say hello to the people at home, please.
Oh, hello.
Now, we've been persuaded to take a break from our browsing here at the special collections at the San Francisco Public Library.
Reading.
Deep reading.
Yeah.
To share with you some of the observations we've made. Now, John.
Yes.
What have we been looking at particularly today?
2 books. One book, Dominic's book from the 18th century.
This is called, it's Horatius.
Yeah, and I have the Table Book of Art, built about 100 years later than your book,
Yeah.
1870s,
Yeah.
a typical 19th century book. Now, let's talk about a few of the surface differences in these books.
Sure. No, my book, for instance, and this is obvious, you can tell this, my book's bound in leather. It's covered with leather.
Right.
And leather, of course, is expensive. It's difficult to prepare. And costs a lot of money. Now, your book...
My book, on the other hand, is bound in cloth, a linen, probably coated with some
Right.
sort of starch.
So what
Very
we're really saying
inexpensive.
is that major change happened in the 19th century with relation to bookbinding, and that was, John?
Cloth.
Something more?
Xeroxing.
Little out of time?
Binding books at the 4-inch.
No, I have to stop you there. It was, in fact, mechanization.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that.
That's right. And we're going to look today at some of those machines that intervened in the bookbindery.
And we're going to visit 2 very different bookbinderies that are related in some ways.
We certainly are.
Right. Which are, actually, I think some of our old predecessors were working at those
Yeah,
binderies
John
at the
and I
time.
both come from a very long line of ancestors,
That's right.
some of whom
Happened to be
bookbinders.
bookbinders.
Yeah. In fact, I had an uncle who was a bookmaker, but that's something slightly different. And he went to jail for it.
And
Now-
my grandfather was a leather worker.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, a football coach.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is a skeleton of a binding. A book, not a little bit unlike this. And what you can see about it is that it has its boards, which are these, attached to the book before it's bound. And they're held in
Now,
place by means of these cords that the book is sewn on, and they're held in through these holes. The big difference that we want to look at today with John's book here.
My book, on the other hand, comes in 2 parts. A text block, which has been sewn and worked together, and a case or a cover, which is made separately from the book block and then sort of wed together at the last minute in a big standing press.
Right.
And we're going to look at some of the visceral differences between these 2 structures, where the similarity is we're both starting with a printed sheet of paper, which we get from the printer, printed 4 up, folded into what's called a signature,
Which pops inside here.
which is nested inside these and is gathered into a book, which is the same thing that we will both start out with.
Yeah.
But they're all similarities, and the work is very different.
So what we're really saying is, although
Yeah.
these books look different on the outside, the major differences come in the 19th century with the way they're built.
Right, things
through
that aren't so obvious when
the
you first
structure,
look at the book.
the way they're built. So we have a couple of pictures, and I think up there we can see that's a nice engraving of a picture of a bindery in the 18th century.
Right.
And what are a couple of things that we notice about this? There are 4 people in this room. This guy here is beating the sections. The paper needs to be flattened before it's bound.
Right.
Here, sitting at the sewing frame, is a woman doing the sewing. The division of labour was always done down gender lines, and women always did the sewing and the sewing of headbands. And they sat down generally to do that. Then over here we have this man who's here at a thing called a press and plough, and he's shaving the top edge of the books off to make them flat. And here's a guy operating the big standing press, a wooden press. And that's essentially most of the activities in bookbinding are described in this picture. Now,
That's right.
This other picture, on the other hand, John, you'll tell us
Yeah,
about.
this picture represents a very large factory-style 19th century bindery, and this is just one small section of this bindery. And maybe starting with the perspective, maybe starting in the back, you can see a group of people there who are perhaps folding, maybe gathering. You can see something with a sort of a treadle or a windmill there. That might be a folding machine.
And these are all operated by steam via
Correct.
these...
You can see this cog, or this sort of treadle up on top, which is probably operated by a large steam-powered engine, maybe in the basement of the building. A little bit towards us, you can see the giant stacks of signatures everywhere, probably women sewing at the sewing frames. A little closer to that, you can see someone with a beating hammer, or a rounding and backing hammer, probably rounding and backing. A little closer to that, I think you see some very rudimentary sort of guillotines.
They look great.
Yeah, you can see the sort of shavings on the floor. Yeah. And the interesting thing about this illustration is that it represents a very small part of the bindery.
John, could I just interrupt you, please?
What?
Nothing, I just wanted to interrupt you. So.
Right. Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I think now what we should do is talk, we've told you a little bit about our ancestors.
Yes, our ancestors. We did say that we had ancestors who were bookbinders, and we weren't joking, it was true. And I think, first of all, we're going to look at my ancestor, who was called Archibald Riley, and he was a bookbinder in the 1780s in London. And here he is. In his bindery in 1786,
Don't drop
it's
those.
right. Now, this is the year of the great bookbinders' uprising, when 4 of them went to Newgate jail for demanding for a reduction of their working hours by 1 hour. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And my ancestor, Archibald...
What do you mean? He looks like he just got up.
No, he's just got out of Newgate prison. That's why he looks pissed off. Now, here we are in the picture. In the foreground, the plough that we saw.
Yeah, and what do you see that he's sitting in front of?
That's the sewing frame.
Huh.
In the background, a small standing press.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing else in
That's
this
all there
bindery.
is really to the bindery.
Yeah, bit of leather.
Some hand tools.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
What's that he just picked up?
That's a little knocking down mallet.
Uh-huh.
And here's a little book, I think, that we're going to see him sew in a bit.
In signatures.
Absolutely. Now, by contrast, we're going to look at your ancestor. What was his name, John?
His name was Charleston Demerritt.
Yeah?
19th century hack merchant.
Oh, yeah.
With not a care in the world, really.
Really? Yeah.
And here he is knocking up books. In the bindery, you can see the difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, there's about 6,000 pounds worth of difference between the two binderies. You see 2 large pieces of machinery behind him. The board cutter, where old Charleston is right now.
Yeah, that's
He's gonna
him.
cut some
He looks kind of like
binders.
you, doesn't he?
He is a distant relative, yeah. Now, next to him is a guillotine used for cutting paper.
Where's that? Oh, on the left.
The gray monstrosity.
God, that's a brute, isn't it? Yeah.
It is a brute, and it can really cut
He was a
paper.
messy old bugger, wasn't he?
Look at him.
Look at that place.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace.
You should see the floor.
Ugh.
Yeah.
They
I
just
think he
didn't-
cleaned this up before we went over there.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't care back then, did they?
They didn't care at all.
So wage labour we're talking about, really. I mean, this guy he works in a factory. He doesn't really have the same autonomy that old Archibald had back.
He works from 7 in the morning till 9, 10 at night.
He does
every
not,
6
really?
days a week.
Phew. Now, we're going to look at the operations involved now in this, in these binderies.
In the 18th century
Yeah,
bindery.
1786. We're back in the bindery.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Archibald sewing.
Now, we saw the sheets earlier, and here he is. Now, this job usually done by a woman, I understand. Now,
Yes. What's that he's tying
well,
on
this is
there?
called a sewing key, and you've got it.
That little piece of brass in his
Yeah.
hand.
Now we sew round this cord, right? But you've got to lock it into
Yeah.
place. So he's going to.
You're doing a special knot there.
It's called a key knot. You put it in this groove,
Yeah.
then it gets wrapped around this bar at the top.
Yes.
Round it goes. Tie it off, and then you need to make it nice and taut. So you can do this by means of these
With
screws.
those wooden
These
screws.
sewing frames are very old. They date
Yeah.
back to the 13th,
All this
12th
equipment was
century.
made out of wood.
Absolutely.
primarily.
Yeah, not fiberglass or anything like that.
No nylon thread
No.
or anything.
Now he's got 5 of those cords.
Yeah.
And he's sewing
And you
around
can see
them.
that he's sort of going around them.
You don't go in a line. You just do a loop, a figure of 8 thing, and you just sew them one after the other, linking up each time to the next one.
Yeah, that's called a kettle stitch,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, is Irish unbleached linen thread.
Yeah.
When it's sewn, you take the keys out, of course, and you have to cut the book away from its cords, as I think he's going to do. Yes,
With a
he's
pair
going
of shears
to
there.
cut them off with some shears. And once that's done, you take the keys off. They just unwrap.
Yeah.
You see, you don't have to cut those. And there it is, all sewn up.
It's starting to look like a
Yeah.
book.
Now, Charleston, on the other hand, has a different way of doing it. My
Charleston
goodness, look at
has
that.
a Smythe sewing machine, another monstrosity.
When was
on
that
the other
invented?
side. Oh, in the 1850s, I believe, given it a little kickstart. This one happens to be electric, although the older ones were steam powered.
Oh, he probably would have
Can't
used
tell a lot.
steam.
He probably would have used steam, but now he's using electric. He places the signature of the book on a platen, hits a treadle with his foot, and the book is sewn, left in place, sewn in gigantic blocks
Oh, and
of
here-
more than one book, which will then be cut apart later.
Right.
He's finding the middle of the signature, putting it on the platen. It's pierced and sewn at the same
This
time.
looks like hard work, though.
Very hard work.
Cost-cutting work. isn't it?
Cost-cutting work, incredibly fast compared to hand sewing.
Right. That's a good, nice little picture of your
Yeah,
old
you can see the
great uncle
cams.
there.
There is a similarity, isn't there? It's cutting off the threads, removing. You wouldn't just sew one book at a time. You can sew up to 30 or 40 books
Wow.
at a time, depending on how many signatures.
And there's no
there are.
cords here.
No
It's just-
cords, no tapes, no
Wow.
anything.
Now,
Trimming.
we're looking in the 1780s at trimming. It's been unchanged for many
What's
centuries.
this piece of equipment
This is
called here
called
that you
a laying press. Sits in a tub.
Yeah.
We screw the book in. This is the foredge we're going to trim first. And it has a little piece of binder's board at the back of it
Yeah.
to protect it. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually take this thing called a plough, which is sitting on the desk, which is essentially a sharpened blade, which is held together between these two pieces of wood with a screw.
Yeah.
And we're going to run it up and down
Like
in
another,
this gutter.
it's like another press.
It's another kind of press, yeah. And as you'll see, it shaves that little bit of the pages off. And
You don't just cut the whole book block at once.
oh no, every time you do it, you turn in with
Yeah.
the screw a little bit, and it moves the blade in.
So you're turning. You can see that you're turning the blade a little bit there.
Yeah. In and in and in, and then it's nicely trimmed.
Then you go all the way around the book.
It's very fast.
Would you do
know.
one or two books at a time?
Sometimes you could put 3 in, depending on the thickness, you know.
So the plow fits on a track on the laying press.
Yeah, absolutely. Then you have to do the other 2 sides, you take it out and you turn it around, but that's essentially all there is to it. Just
And it
blow.
makes a beautiful cut.
Oh, very smooth. Very smooth.
Yeah. On the other hand,
Oh, this is good.
Charleston's guillotine here, which is the machine you saw in the background before, is a very large machine with a blade, a mechanically operated blade.
When was this machine invented, John?
1830s or 40s, I believe. You can see he's just cut the foredges of 2 books
Yeah, let's
that
have
were
a
sewn
closer look at
earlier.
that.
There's a fence in the back that there's a gauge
Oh, okay.
that's set. A clamp comes down to hold it, and the blade is engaged with a clutch.
Fabulous. Mind you don't want to get your fingers caught in it, do you?
Absolutely not.
Rounding and backing.
Bad accidents can happen in
Now,
the bindery.
Here we are. Before we round and back this book, you see those cords are very thick.
They're
that the book
very
was sewn
thick
on.
cords.
So we fray them out. It's called fraying out the slips. And when they're nice and smooth, we just take a bookbinder's hammer, which is a slightly rounded hammer, and hit the book gently, very gently, on both sides.
Now, what's the purpose of doing this
Well,
rounding?
the book has a huge swell at the spine, right? So that swell has to
of the
go
f-
somewhere.
Because of the fold and the thread.
Yeah, the fold in the thread makes the book thicker at the spine, so we
Yeah.
put it into a round like that, so it will function better as a machine, because
now
it is a machine.
Now, you see again, you're going back into the laying
Yep,
press,
very
which was really
versatile
the
press.
all-purpose piece of equipment
Absolutely.
in the bindery.
We're putting it between these 2 angled or beveled backing boards.
Yeah.
We're going to hit it with the hammer again, and that puts a joint or a sort of shoulder
Yeah.
on the book. It's that little edge where the board is
Where the
going to
board
sit.
will sit flush to. Now, here, on the other hand, is a star backer or a rounder backer
Gosh.
that will replace hammering a book. It's been slightly hammered, so it's a little bit round already. Charleston here is clamping the book. He'll put all his weight onto it.
Oh, I see the round there, yes.
You see the round there. He's going to roll this giant iron round roll over the book. And you can see that it does a pretty nice job.
That's a very heavy roller that's
It's
going on.
very heavy. This is the sort of ultimate Victorian piece of machinery.
I love that. I want
And
one.
he did a pretty good job there.
Yeah. He's a hard worker.
He works very hard.
Now, lacing on, of course, this is the board that's going to make the cover of the book, and we're punching holes in it, which you'll see why we're going to do that in a minute. We punch 2 sets of holes, and then we cut a small channel, which is
Yeah.
also called a slip,
You're sort of excavating the board. there.
excavating a little bit, and that's where the cord is going to sit. So
Yes.
it makes it nice and flat. And into those holes, we're going to actually rub some glue, or paste in this case,
Yeah.
onto the slips, those pieces of cord that the book was sewn on. And They will then be laced into the board, and you'll
Yeah.
see how this works. You see, they line up nicely. We get the paste.
So the board's attached to the book before...
It's attached at this stage.
Before covering.
Which is very different to your book, right,
Yes.
that you showed us earlier. So we've rubbed some glue into there, and now we take those slips.
Yeah. Does your head get hot during this?
Because of the little cap I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. We pull the little cords through, although that isn't actually me. I know it looks like me.
Yeah.
That was my great-great ancestor.
That's right. There was such a similarity.
Yeah. And we're going to bash down those holes, and that will secure the book in place.
Now, headbanding.
Into its boards. Now, this is all done with a needle and thread and
Yes.
a simple piece of cord. It's important to put chalk on your hands.
Yeah.
Very important. We
Just
want-
like a gymnast.
Yes, or a snooker player, or a French chef. And then we're going to sew round the headband, 2 colours, red and white. Generally, they would use 2 colours.
So you're actually, this is being mechanically attached to the book
Oh,
through
yes.
sewing.
You actually...
There's no glue involved.
Look, you're going
here.
down there, look.
Yeah.
You're going right the way through, below the kettle stitch.
Right.
And
Below
that-
the kettle stitch.
Yeah, you don't have to, but it's always good. It's a psychological reassurance, I think, more than anything else. And then
Using 2 colored threads.
2 coloured threads. It's a round headband, and then when it's finished, you just tie off at the end. Bit of glue, but this is hot glue,
Yeah.
made from leftover bits of animals that our carnivorous friends don't eat, and then just glue it down, and then with the knife, the all-purpose paring knife, cut the...
Remove the ends.
Yeah, in the olden days, they used to be laced
They would
into the
attach it
boards.
to the
but
boards.
This is more decorative than
Yes.
structural, and you cut it off. And there it is, beautiful, decorative, stripy headband.
Right. And we'll see in the 19th century a new kind of headband, because we were really moving into multiples.
They did away with the sewing.
They did away with the sewing because it was extremely time-consuming.
But you still have a
And
striped
here's
piece of
another-
material there.
So here we see another cost-cutting mechanical device. Now, this striped material came from the binder's Oxford shirt.
Get out of here.
It's true.
Ugh.
Which the binder probably paid for themselves.
What, in terms of...
Yeah.
You mean they paid for with the accidents they had, and they paid for with their
Right.
lives?
The
you mean?
bindery wasn't
Oh,
supported.
they actually bought them, right? I see.
Now you can see I just wrapped a stiffened cord.
Oh, and there you see he's made several headbands out of his shirt. there.
Shirt, yeah. Those were for different books.
Right.
Yeah, old Charleston had a lot of shirts. Now, lining the spine.
Oh, okay.
After we've attached the headband to the book, we take a piece of creche,
Oh.
mull. It's very much like a piece of
Yeah.
cheesecloth.
Notice that Archibald didn't line his spine, by the way,
No, Archibald did not.
because he didn't need to, because it was already strong.
It's
So you-
already strong.
You put this
what
on.
Charleston is doing here is, since there is no attachment of boards, he is lining the spine of the book because it needs to have some strength, some compactness to make the book block, the text block, a single unit. Plus, he's creating, by putting this creche on here, he's creating a strong attachment for the cover when the
Right.
cover is actually attached
In England,
to.
we used
the
to call
book
that.
block.
We used to call that mull.
Yeah, they call it mull. It depends what coast you're from.
Right.
It's also called super.
Oh,
I think if you call it super if you're
Super.
from Chicago.
okay. Now he's glued it
Now,
again.
He's glued it again,
and
and he's going to attach a piece of craft paper just to add some stiffness and
okay.
just so that the spine retains its shape as it
That's
opens
pink
and
craft
closes.
paper.
Pink craft paper.
Not-
very, very 19th century.
presumably not made to match the headband, which is also pink. That's just an accident, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to see that. Now, covering, actually, for old Archibald back in the 1780s was a lengthy process. Covered in hide, leather.
Yeah.
This is actually a kip side, which is an adolescent calf skin.
Yeah.
We make a
And
template.
what are you doing there?
Well,
Making a
just,
template? Just
I'm
cutting
marking
it
it
up?
with a nice piece of chalk all the way around. Oh, he looks tired, doesn't he?
Oh.
He's remembering those long days when he was languishing in jail, I think. He was,
Yeah.
all my family have been great revolutionaries. I have a great radical tradition that I come from. He's cutting it out with this big knife.
His paring knife.
My mother actually organised a revolution within the Women's Institute a few years ago. Now he's going to pare the edge here with his
paring knife.
English paring knife, I have to say.
Yeah. Oh, that looks very hard.
Well, it's hard, it's tricky too. You can lose a finger.
Now what's he
Well,
doing
he's
there?
dyeing this
Dyeing.
now, and it's a
With
vegetable
vegetable
dye, brown number 2. There were only 4 colours of dye in those
And you
days.
just brush it on with a piece of cloth. Huh?
Yeah, it's a rag really.
Yeah.
Put it on with a rag, or a rag, as they say in Montana, and then lift it up to the light. You
That's
can
what
see
Peter Koch would say.
Yeah, he
Right.
would. Yeah, he's got such a hick accent, doesn't he?
Now what?
Now we're just pasting it out now. Get it nice and wet.
Well, Which is just wheat starch paste.
That's right, it's boiled, you know.
Yeah.
When it's tacky, we put the book on it, wrap it around. Now you see, it's not covering the whole book.
Yeah.
This is called a half binding. The rest
Now,
of the
by
book.
this time, the leather is quite supple and easy to work
Oh, it's
with.
wonderful. We're forming it round the spine. We
Yeah.
want to take all the shape and the impressions of those raised bands that we sewed it on. The rest of this board will be covered in marble paper or plain paper, by the way.
Now
We're
you're
turning it in down the
turning it
spine,
in.
and when it's closed, we wrap it up.
with cords.
And this cord that goes round pinches each one of those bands on the back and emphasizes them.
Didn't his sleeves get in the way when he was working?
Oh,
Now,
sometimes.
Charleston, on the other hand, is making what's called a cloth case. He's setting his board cutter up to cut boards, which have not been attached to the book block yet. So now is the time that he would do that. As opposed
Oh,
to
okay.
Yeah, cutting the panels out.
Now this is
See,
really quick.
it's
The
very
boards,
quick.
by the way, Archibald would not have used one of these. He would have cut his boards in the plough.
Yes,
the
he would
same
have cut
place
in
where
the plow the same
he
way that
trimmed
he
his.
cut the book block. And this
Yeah.
is all about multiples. Here's a piece of book cloth, a
Now,
starch.
tell me about book cloth.
It's a starch-filled linen that was generally coated on the facing side for making it easy to stamp and to make it pleasing. to
But this
the
wasn't
eye.
around in Archibald's day. This was.
Oh no, no. This was came around well into wide use in the 1830s and 40s, and it really became the prime, a lot stronger than.
So it
paper.
was an alternative. It was better
To
than
leather.
paper, but it was an alternative to leather.
Yes.
It was easy to treat. It
And
was
they
much
had to
cheaper.
invent new methods to use it because
Sure.
in ways it was a lot harder. To
So they got it from the textile industry, I
Yeah.
presume.
Yeah, that's and they made some improvements to it that made it easier to work
Okay.
for books,
Right.
particularly so that it could accept stamping and adhesive.
Stamping is the gold tooling onto it, right?
That's right, the embossing.
Now he's making what?
What Charleston is doing is making the case. He's using a gauge there so that the spine size is always uniform, which is very important.
Oh, okay.
Putting the two panels down,
So this is very.
very
This
fast.
is like production line
This
stuff,
is
isn't
production. You would do hundreds of these at a time.
it? Right.
Putting the spine piece down.
To reinforce that.
And you
the-
can
the
see that
spine.
all his movements are very economical. Just goes like that. You can tell he's done it millions and millions of times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's fast.
He's very fast. Now he's going to use a simple turning in tool.
Mm-hmm.
Hand tools were still quite common in the, edition bindery, but they were just aided. There was certain steps that were aided by mechanical machines.
But you're still using. I mean, he's still using his hands, right? I mean,
He's still using it's hand.
this is
work.
not all like
there's-
factory machine production
Oh
that we.
no, that's the common misconception is that factory work was unskilled.
Well, I
or-
certainly thought that until now.
Yeah,
Was I labouring under a misconception? Was I?
I think you were laboring under a very large misconception.
Well, thank you for putting me right.
Well, thank
It's
Charleston.
still- yeah.
Thank Charleston.
Looks like a book.
Now,
doesn't it?
tooling,
Ah.
on the other hand, Archibald is
Oh, let me tell you about him, because I'm very proud of him. This is real gold leaf, and it's in a little book, and he's lifting it out. You can't sneeze when you're doing. Oh,
Yeah, oh.
you can't even blow. Look at that.
Yeah.
You've got to blow to get it onto the pad.
Now,
but
what is that pad that he's putting?
it's
it
made
on
of
there?
suede.
Uh-huh.
It's the other
And it
side
just
of
sort
leather.
holds the. Gold, and what's, he
That's
has
a gold
special
knife,
there.
special gold knife,
You
special
can't
shape.
touch that with your hand.
No, no. You can eat gold leaf. Did you know that?
I
It's
didn't
very
know
good
that.
for you. In fact, I think Archibald used to have a bit of a taste for it. That's probably why he died early. He got gold poisoning. Now, you pick it up with a bit of cotton, and you can put it onto the back of the spine, and then
How
you
is that?
go in with a tool.
Yeah, in his hand he
This
has
is
a hot tool.
Hot tool. There's an adhesive underneath there, which is glare, which is made
Right.
from
Now, have you
egg white
treated-
and vinegar.
You've treated the book with the egg white and
Yes.
vinegar before you put the gold
And that
in there.
acts as a kind of adhesive, which
Right.
will stick the heat activates the gold onto the adhesive.
That's right.
Just a simple center tool. The rest
A
of the
dingbat,
gold.
we call that.
Yeah, that's a 19th century term, though,
That's
isn't
right.
it? I'd call that a center tool, rosette.
Now, on the other hand, this is another one of the big inventions of the 19th century.
What is this?
It's a blocking press or a foil stamping machine.
When's that from?
1830s
Wow.
as well, around the same time as the guillotine. What Charleston is doing there is he has a composite foil. It's made out of aluminum, probably with a heat-sensitive adhesive on the back of it. Not dissimilar to the gold stamp.
But it's not real gold.
No, it's not, although you can use
I think they
real
used to originally, didn't
gold.
they?
Yeah, and you can see it's heated up. There's a thermometer on there. It's up to about 250 degrees.
And you just go in like
And that's
that.
just all there is to it. You can see once again that this is
And-
really for multiple.
And mass production. And you can throw away the ones you waste, right?
Yeah.
Which is a good, which is
5%
good,
over,
good
as
idea.
you always figure
Right.
for. Now pressing.
What's Archibald doing?
Archibald-
He's just putting it straight in the press. I think
now
he's.
that it's covered.
I think he's pasted out the end paper, but the cover was already attached, so he doesn't need to do much pressing.
No,
Just close the book generally with a bit of glue in there.
just to give it a little consolidation. But there's not very much pressure.
But on the other hand, Charleston, my
Charleston what he's doing now is he's going to wed the text block.
goodness. Wed, I like that.
the text block to the cover using a wheat starch paste again.
Now, what is he pasting out? This is an end paper, right?
An end paper which has been attached to the book, tipped onto the book block,
And
very carefully placing it on the case.
And the spine lining is glued on there also.
Right.
But it's only that attaches this book to its
That's
case,
right.
to its cover.
That's it.
It's not as strong.
No, not as strong.
He does the other side.
But done correctly, it's stronger than you think.
Is it?
Making sure that the attachment is right, that it's all in place. Now he's placing it in this very large standing press. You can see.
Oh, right. Much bigger than the one that old Archibald was
Yeah,
using.
on these things.
A metal press.
And the boards are a little different too. They have a metal ridge all the way around, so that the spine of the book, the joint of the book, sits on top of the metal.
So that little groove that's near the spine is caused by that metal
And
strip.
you can see all the boards leaning against the wall there.
Yeah.
So you can do about 50 or 60 books at a
Right.
time. He's filling the press up with what's called furniture now.
Oh, that's nice. Very nice furniture. Where's that from?
The redwood forest, I believe.
Oh, nice furniture.
Don't tell anyone.
Oh, no, okay.
And now he's closing the press with, he will put quite a bit of pressure on there to keep the books from warping.
Yeah.
And you can leave it in there overnight.
Is it true that the pressure increases overnight in one of these presses?
No, it actually decreases.
Oh, does it?
It'll relax a little bit.
Oh.
And he's got an extender bar in there. And
So there you have it, John.
yeah.
Wonderful, wasn't it? Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you very much to Charleston, Demerritt,
Archibald.
Oh,
Yeah, consummate craftsman.
yeah. Well, Archibald certainly.
Yeah. Charleston's trying.
Well, give him a B.
Yeah. I'll give him an E for effort.
But thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that this.
We hope you've gotten an idea of what happened in the 100 years between the way this book, Dominic's book, bound in leather, and this, my book here, sort of swaddled in cloth. Mm-hmm. Maybe that'll give you an idea of what happened on the inside.
Sure, and if you're interested in doing some research of your own or looking at some of the wonderful stuff that the Special Collections has here at the San Francisco Public Library.
San Francisco Public Library Special Collections. Take a look at the Grabhorn collection, which is a wonderful collection of books about books.
Absolutely.
One of the best collections.
It's a great place to do research into book history of any kind, especially bookbinding
local
history.
resource.
It really is. And also, if this has piqued your interest, which we hope it has, into bookbinding yourself, then the Hand Bookbinders of California is a local group which covers the whole state. We're based here in the Bay Area.
Binders and bindery enthusiasts.
We can put you in touch through the library with them.
Yeah. And Dominic is the editor of our journal and newsletter.
Oh, yes,
Gold Leaf.
but John, I have to say, is our new president. We're very excited. He's the first president under 80 that we've had in almost 50 years.
That's right.
And we hope that things are going to be exciting in the bookbinding world in the future months. So, from John Demerritt,
And Dominic Riley.
thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll see you next time.
Back to our reading.
Yes. Goodbye.
Located in the heart of the Bayview District at 5075 3rd Street, the Bayview Anna E. Wadden Branch Library is open Mondays and Tuesdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Wednesdays 1 to 9 p.m., Thursdays and Fridays 1 to 6 p.m., Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays closed. The Mission Branch Library, just one block off Mission Street at 3359 24th Street, is open Mondays 1 to 9 p.m., Tuesdays and Wednesdays 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Thursdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Fridays 1 to 6 p.m., Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays 1 to 5 p.m.
You too can be a friend of the San Francisco Public Library. Join us. For more information, phone the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library at 557-4257.
We'd like to hear what you think of At the Public Library. Please send your comments to San Francisco Public Library, Media Production Services, Civic Center, San Francisco, California, 94102.
You've been watching At the Public Library here on Cable Channel 54, City Watch. At the Public Library features news and information about the San Francisco Public Library system. And for a printed copy of some of the information in this program, pick up a copy of At the Public Library at your branch or at the main library. Tune in next time for more At the Public Library, and thanks for watching.